grandson, he wanted to ride to the east side. They let him because, you know, he was younger, never took his name, didn't copy his license. He wasn't required to. We left him off at the mall. That's who was driving, and he never passed anybody. Now, the lawyer said that. What are they going to say?
Does the ticket go to the car, or does it go to the individual?
That's what I want to know. So how did you handle it?
Just keep me posted.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for coming tonight to Lake County Liberty Coalition. We really appreciate it. Yes, things could still be on Zoom, and yes, things could still be on FaceTime and so forth. But if we don't know who each other are, how do we gather our forces to keep our freedom, right? And that's why we're here tonight. So we really thank you on behalf of Brian Massey, our president, myself. Yep, our hero, definitely our hero. We thank you very much tonight for coming. If you would mind just standing for a prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Would you please stay standing for the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everybody. You may sit. Excuse me. I want to sit. That's fine. I want to sit. It's on my mind. Quickly, thank you again for coming. Is anybody new this evening? New, two new, three new. Thank you. Welcome. If you like what you see, we hope you come back. If you like what you see, please bring somebody else. And if you like what you see, it's only $20 a year. It's the best buy ever. And we get to meet some new people. I always ask everybody, please feel free to stay when our whole thing is over and connect. Emails, phone numbers. We are going to need each other. And it's never been more exemplified in this last 2-3 years with COVID and so forth, how we need to stay in contact with each other, be each other's support system. So without further ado, we are going to have a real quick, brief overview of Liberty Camp. I know a lot of you have heard of Liberty Camp, but if you haven't, this is our patriot, Linda O'Brien, that educates our youth. Linda.
Please. So I've got all kinds of things to talk to you about, so I have to talk fast. Otherwise, I'll get the hook. All right, so Liberty Camp. Registration is slow. We have less than 30 kids right now. And just as a comparison, Geauga has over 60. So that's where we typically would. On the stick flag, it's about yay big, an appeal to heaven flag. So on the last day, they will all come marching in with their appeal to heaven flags. So that will be fun. And the other thing is, I'm working against all this noise saying that our founders were atheists and deists. So I'm getting, I'm making like what you would think of as almost a baseball card. And we're going to have it of the founders with their prayer on the back of it, you know, some quotes, but it's almost like a trading card. So it's going to be fun. Now, on a couple of other subjects real quickly, those of you who know about the cemetery that I'm working on, I finally got word from Willoughby Hills Mayor last week that he says, we will do nothing to restore that cemetery. And so, that didn't tell me to do nothing. I met with the Men of Honor, and as recently as 5 o'clock tonight, I gave the News Herald the full information, and they're meeting me out there Thursday. And that mayor is either going to rescind his thought process about this, or we'll have the, the TV channels out with us. So I'm not giving up. And one other quick thing. Mentor has talked about bullying nonstop. Well, they put together a committee to figure out what to do about bullying. And I'm on the committee. So trust me, the bullying will halt.
Thank you. So tell your grandkids, tell your young moms, fathers that you about Liberty Camp. I tutor, that's what I do. I'm bringing 3 of the kids that I tutor, and therefore Linda said, okay, well, you're in a costume now, so. So, thank you for educating our youth. Our next speaker is, yes?
When is Liberty Camp?
July
7th, the week of July 7th.
Brian Massey will give us an update on our tax initiative. I want to thank everybody. So many people I'm looking at right now showed up, not only signed the petition, you were circulators of the petition. How many signatures did we wind up with, Brian?
Lake County, 730, which is about 40%
Okay.
of the total.
And we came up with a total of,
1,845.
and we only needed 1,000. So without further ado, our next step, our president, Brian Massey.
Yes, I'll be very quick. What's happening now? We've got all the petitions. We've got everything organized. The last thing that we have to do is we've got to create a record, an electronic record of every one of the petitions. Because what happens is when it goes to the Attorney General, to the Secretary of State, what they do is they will send the electronic copy to the individual Board of Elections, and the individual Board of Elections, they're responsible to determine whether or not the signatures are for valid registered voters. So I should have that wrapped up tomorrow, and then Thursday we will be going down to the State Attorney General and the Secretary of State to file the petition. They, as I understand it, the next step, they will have 10 days to tell us whether or not the constitutional amendment we have on the petition is fair and valid. And they send it to another governmental agency that actually writes the ballot language. And then when they give us that, we are going to have to collect about 500,000 signatures. So they don't make it easy, and you also have to have 44 of the 88 counties contributing all the signatures. So we are, we're not quite there yet as far as the total organization, but we did get signatures from 26 different counties. And I'll let you know that the state legislators, they're hearing from us. Yeah. And I didn't know that, but a friend of mine met the Attorney General, gave him my card. The Attorney General says, "Are you Brian Massey?" "No, I'm not Brian Massey." He said, "Well, I've heard of you." So, and then the other funny thing about it is when I talk to the chief financial officers of the schools, you know what they say to me? "We've heard of you. We know where you live."
What?
Who says that?
That's a threat right there.
That's a veiled threat, isn't it?
It's not even veiled.
Yeah. So. And we have recorded him many times speaking on the behalf of the seniors of eliminating property taxes. I'll let him tell you about that. We also have Susan Daniels. We appreciate Susan here. She's going to talk about Barack Obama and his, why things haven't, why no one goes after him. It's just amazing. But maybe things will change in the next few years. So without any further ado, Commissioner Plecnik, John Plecnik.
Hello, hello. For the few of you who don't know me, once again, my name is John Plecnik, and I'm humbled to serve as one of your 3 Lake County Commissioners. It's a local office, and it gives you the opportunity to make a difference in your local community. But there are issues today that are affecting all of us, as Brian's been saying, from Lake County all the way down to Columbus, Ohio. And so I never thought that I'd find myself with Brian Massey in Zanesville talking about property taxes. But we've got to do it, folks. We absolutely have got to do it. And as a Lake County Commissioner, I may not have a vote or a say in the State House, but I do have the perspective of how many folks are being impacted by these ridiculous inflationary gains, these unrealized gains on their homes. Because I get more complaints on property taxes, and I'm not sure complaint is the right word. I would say pleas for help on property taxes than any other issue. Do I get people who complain about the sewer? Yes. Do I get people who say there's too much noise from the road or the airport? Of course. Do I get complaints about flooding and potholes? Absolutely. Whether you're a councilman or a commissioner, and I've been both, those are the complaints you will always have. And we have to work to respond and to help where we can, at least point people in the right direction. I know how to fix those problems. I can work on a pothole. I can deal with a flood. But this ridiculous increase in property taxes is a generational, a once-in-a-generation problem. And it's always been there to some extent. They've been hiking our taxes surreptitiously year after year after year, but it wasn't enough. It wasn't enough that the people really spoke up and said no. Only now that the taxes have gotten so high that folks literally can't afford them are they waking up and calling for help. And that's what's really different this time. I understand, I like to say I'm not a politician, but I know how to speak politician. I can interpret for you. And when a politician says, it's very complicated, I've been working on it, trust me, I care about it, I'm with you, but they really mean they have absolutely no intention of doing anything. They've already made up their mind, and they think if they patronize you a little bit, you'll go away and leave them alone. That's what they mean when they say it's complicated, it's a difficult issue. Well, what isn't complicated and difficult in life, right? Even opening a door can be complicated if you want to make it that way. But this is really a simple problem. You've been hiking taxes vis-a-vis inflation for years, and thanks to Joe Biden, inflation shot through the damn ceiling. Suddenly, people are being taxed out of their own homes. Seniors are being hit the worst. But everyone is suffering from this, and so everyone's been raising their hand and saying, this has got to stop. The problem is, at every level of government, they've gotten so addicted to our money that the immediate response you get when you say, we need to reform property taxes, they go, well, how will government afford this? It's like, government's not paying the bills. Government doesn't afford anything. We're the ones paying, and we're telling you. We're not asking, we're telling you we can't afford it anymore. And I'm not really concerned with what you have to cut or what hard times your government agency is going to go through. Government is supposed to sacrifice for and serve the people, not the other way around. So if you've got a difficult budget season, God bless you, I feel for you, but that's your job. And if you don't want a budget and you don't want to make hard choices, let me tell you something. You shouldn't be a school board member. You shouldn't be a councilman, a mayor, a commissioner, and you certainly shouldn't be a state senator or a state representative, because that is the biggest part of each and every one of those jobs. It's to budget. And we know that about 60% plus of our property tax go to the school board meeting. Well, yeah, I think every citizen should go to their school board meeting, their council meeting, their commissioners meeting, when there are issues that concern them, to speak up and let their voice be heard. I agree with that, but they're being facetious because they know darn well that government isn't going to voluntarily cut itself. If the schools wanted to cut our taxes, they would have done it a long damn time ago. They don't. They're already looking for ways to tax us more. I'm not going to name names, Wycliffe, but there's some taxes at this most inopportune time. And by the way, I love Wycliffe. It's a beautiful community. I live right next door in Willoughby Hills. But how tone deaf is it to raise taxes now? I mean, come on. There's no way. I don't care how much you say you need the money. Find a way to cut the budget in another sector. Because ultimately, when government raises taxes, you're not really accomplishing anything. You're passing the buck. And I want to be very clear. You're passing the buck from your table to everyone's kitchen table, instead of government doing the work of Elon Musk and Doge. and cutting their budget, cutting the fat, modernizing, streamlining, and doing more with less. They're saying now all you have to do it. You can't go out to eat on Tuesdays. You don't get to go visit your grandchildren. You can't buy that plane ticket. Heck, you can't even afford to pay for your medication because we don't want to do the difficult work of budgeting. You know, Brian mentioned the CFOs. That's literally their full-time job, doing the budget. They should do nothing but looking for tax savings every single day. But they haven't had to. Nobody's pushed them, nobody's forced them, and so they have gotten away with raising our taxes every single 3 years, and they're shocked that people are stepping up and saying no more. And I want to say no more in 3 different ways. Number one, there should be no tax on inflationary, no tax on unrealized gains. The reality is our property values should be set at sales price. It's what a willing buyer paid a willing seller. It's an objective value, and we can fire all the bureaucrats who do nothing but revalue our homes if we just say sales price is the tax value. It's fair, it's better, it's cheaper, it's done. That's number one. That takes away all the inflationary gains. Number two, I've said there should be a 100% property tax exemption for seniors. Instead of this tiny little homestead exemption that's barely enough to make the difference for the few people who are eligible for it, there should be a 100% property tax exemption for seniors, because when you turn 65, after 65 years of paying taxes, that is enough. But number three, if the state reps and senators will not listen to us, and to date, I've been hearing crickets, if they will not listen, and they will not reform property taxes in a meaningful way, if they say it's complicated, they wish they could help, they can't afford it, then we need to play the bad cop. And we need to get 500,000 signatures and take all their property tax money away. Yeah. And then they can cry boo hoo hoo. That's what we need to do, folks. Good cop, we go to them and say, fix this problem right now. People probably won't even care. They're not going to sign this petition. They're going to be happy that you stood up and you did something good for them, and they'll be able to live with the property tax system that I just described. If seniors get 100% exemption and everybody else gets their property value frozen at sales price, I think most people would live with that, would let it go. But if you say no, if you ignore us, we're taking all your money. And now you're going to have to deal with a much bigger hole to fill. But I'm not going to cry for you, because that's your job and you asked for it. That's something you got to remember about every single elected official. Each and every one of us, some of us are crazy, each and every one of us asked for this job, whether it's mayor of Timberlake, Lake County Commissioner, or state representative. So don't cry me a river about how it's impossible to do it. If it's so impossible from your perspective, you ran for the wrong thing. You're not qualified for the job. Let somebody else take it. So I want to applaud your president, Brian Massey, for the yeoman's work he has done to end property taxes in Ohio and finally make these people listen. Thank you, Brian. But that's the fight statewide. What about locally? Let me tell you something, folks. As frustrating as it is to watch the nonsense that went on in D.C. under Joe Biden, as crazy as Columbus is today, even though we supposedly have a Republican majority, we still have to be watchful with our local government. Whether it's school board trying to jack our taxes up even in this inflationary environment, or your county. And I will tell you, when I was appointed Lake County Commissioner, and I think that's the only way someone like me ends up in a job like this. I'm a member of the Liberty Coalition. I've been a central committee member for the Republican Party. But a young, talented lawyer, not me, someone else, a young, talented lawyer ran for county commissioner. He won in a landslide. He got more votes than anyone in history. That record still stands, by the way. He's still the most popular commissioner ever. Resigned less than 6 days into the job for a conflict of interest. Not really sure what it was. Good guy, but here today, gone tomorrow. And suddenly there had to be an appointment. And let me tell you, the Liberty Coalition came out in droves to vote for me for county commissioner. And we ended up winning in a little church hall, St. John Vianney's in Mentor, with 79 votes. And let me tell you something, folks. The very next day when I went to be sworn in as county commissioner, I found out that I had gotten 79 votes to become the 79th commissioner in the history of Lake County. I don't believe in coincidences. I believe in God. And I believe God puts you where you're meant to be. We walk the path that's put in front of us. It's our job to be open to God's will. And so here I am, brand new county commissioner, never saw this coming, and right off the rip, everyone's trying to get you to raise taxes. And here's something that folks don't understand. Even the Republicans, even the ones that publicly say they're against raising taxes privately, like the devil on your shoulder will say, I'd support you if you would raise the sales tax. We really need it for law enforcement. Republicans love law enforcement. Well, yes, we do. But we're not willing to bankrupt our family, mortgage our house, and sell our kids into slavery to pay for law enforcement. There's a limit, right? We're going to support law enforcement like we're going to support all good things in moderation, in what we can afford as a community. Support doesn't mean you mortgage the future to spend everything now. Support means having a sustainable, conservative budget where we can support law enforcement not just for 5 years, but for the future, for 50, 100, 150 years. We need to think in terms of centuries and generations when we're stewards of government, not in terms of one election to the next. So let me tell you, as disgusted as we are by the liberals in D.C. and the liberals in Columbus, I want you to understand that that fight is still very real for your school boards, your city councils, your county commission, and a lot of folks who you think are on your side, who have an R by their name. If they think they can get away with it and get a fast one past you, if they think they can get someone else to be the bad guy and vote to raise your taxes and they can just step back and spend the money, they will do it. And that's why, I've been called a lot of things over the years. Some of them I can't repeat. But the one nickname I do like is Commissioner No. Because that word, no, is the single most beautiful word in the English language, and it seems that public schools have stopped teaching it because our elected officials do not know how to say no. They go, well, this is important, and that's important, and we must support this, and we must support that. Everything in life is about priorities. If you've run your own business, if you've raised a family, if you've had a job, heck, if you've run your own personal budget, you understand you can't spend more than you're taking in very long before you go to hell in a handbasket. But our politician friends do not get it, even at the local level. And it is our job to hold them accountable. So if you want to know why I'm still standing here and why I'm still taking the punches, it's because I recognize that even at the local level, even when 17 out of the 18 countywide elected officials are registered Republicans, they're not as conservative as I am. They're not as conservative as you are, and we need to push. Now, as long as we're forceful and we hold folks accountable, I'm with you. They're always with us if we're watching them, if we're pushing, if they know that our vote is contingent on them doing the right thing. But the moment they think the cat's away and the mice can play, it's amazing how people propose the single biggest tax increase in Lake County history. And I will say, it was only with your help, 2 weeks of pressure in 2023 that we were able to rescind the single greatest tax increase in Lake County history. And as long as I'm a county commissioner, I will never allow them to raise our taxes. And I actually had a Madison Township trustee come into my meeting. And he said, John, I want to quote you. You said, I will never raise taxes, never, ever. Conservative Republican promise. The problem was he didn't keep it. He got elected and he thought he could do whatever the hell he wanted. He looked pretty good standing next to Ronald Reagan. A lot of fake Republicans look pretty good when they stand next to conservatives. But you got to remember, the only reason George H.W. Bush was a good vice president was because he was under Reagan. As soon as he was off on his own, he's appointing Justice Souter and trying to raise our taxes. So we need to remember that the most dangerous virus in Ohio is not coronavirus. It's not COVID-19, i.e. the flu, the cold. The most dangerous virus in Ohio, and it's still going around, folks, is the rhinovirus. That's the most dangerous virus. We've got Republicans elected to everything, at every level of government. The only reason we are not succeeding, the only reason we falter or fail or fall short of our conservative values in Ohio is because some rhino sells us out. And I don't need to say any names, you already know them.
Don't worry.
But we need to stand together, folks. We need to stand together with lobbyists for citizens, with the Tea Party, with the conservative wing of the Lake County Republican Party, and we need to hold our local, our state, and our federal officials to account. If we do that, if you do that, if we all do it together, we have the potential to have the golden age, not just of America, but of Ohio, and of Lake County, Ohio in particular. And this is my home. I don't know about you, but I'm ready to fight for my home. That's why I ran for city councilman in the craziest city in this county. Nobody likes to be an elected official in Willoughby Hills. That's why I went for county commissioner on a hope and a prayer, because I believe that I could make a difference. So let me just close by saying this. If I've done anything good for Lake County in my life, it's because of the support that you've given me. Understand that the liberals will always attack the good conservatives, will always rip apart the folks who support Trump and support the real Republicans. But it's you who keep us going. With your support, with your prayers. Sometimes it's just a kind word saying good job, to encourage the school board member, the councilman, your commissioner to keep fighting, because it's hard out there. And people forget, local elected officials, heck, even Congress people, they're human beings too. And they need us not just to hold them accountable, but to support them and pray for them to make sure they can get across the finish line. And I know that no one prays harder than our Vice President, Nancy Mara. So God bless you, and God bless Lake County, Ohio.
When Vivek Ramaswamy was in town, did you have an opportunity to speak with him regarding taxes?
I had a very brief opportunity to shake his hand, and I will say it was a bit of a funny conversation. I'll share it with you word for word. Before I could say much of anything, Vivek said, "It's so good that you're here. Young people need to be involved in politics, and kids like you are the future." And I must have looked at him just a little funny. He's like, "How old are you?" And I said, 41, older than you, Vivek. So I would say kids like Vivek and I are the future, and I'm grateful that he's here. He did speak on property taxes as he gave his speech to the whole room, but I didn't get more than a minute with him taking a picture like everybody else. So I'll admit, I didn't really have a chance to say much. But I was gratified to hear, and I certainly applauded very loudly at the front table, that Vivek supports dramatic cuts to property taxes. He's not quite as far down the road as Mr. Massey, but he's getting there.
John, what's your turn?
Okay, so John, apparently the state of Ohio said it was illegal for schools to be taking money from property taxes, and it's going on and on and on, and nobody's doing a thing about it, and that's part of what I think transpired this remove the property tax.
So let me clarify there. I hear that all the time. The Ohio Supreme Court has ruled that it's illegal to pay for public schools with property taxes. That's not quite what those cases stand for. The complaint that those Supreme Court cases raise is that local property taxes stay with local schools, which creates uneven revenue sources, so that wealthy communities have more money and poorer communities have less. resources as well. They weren't saying property taxes themselves to pay for school was unconstitutional. They felt they should all go in one big pot and then be distributed out. So I'm not sure you like those cases. Maybe you do, but they did not hold property taxes unconstitutional, period. It's a bit of a misnomer.
Okay, well, thank you. So is it where they go into one pot and get distributed evenly?
No.
Or that's
No.
not happening? Okay.
We've really never addressed those cases, to be honest with you.
The new public safety center, it's starting to come out of the ground, and it's, 2027, I believe, is completion date. What will happen with the existing jail?
So let me start by saying in 2023, when they tried to raise our taxes, they said it was impossible to build the jail without raising taxes. And I'm proud to be the guy who made the impossible possible, because we are building the Lake County Safety Center without raising taxes. Amen? Amen. But to Brian's point, what happens to the old jail? I got to tell you, that building, anyone who's had the opportunity to tour it like Brian and I have, there is no residual value. I mean, just to give you one example, the external mortar and brick walls are buckling outward from water damage, and we have to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars every year just to keep bricks from falling on people on the sidewalk. I mean, that's how bad that building has gotten. There is no fixing that building. It's getting increasingly expensive just to legally keep it open without a public safety issue. We don't want the jail committing crimes. When the jail murders people, you know you have a problem. So unfortunately, the jail has to be demolished, and one of two things are going to happen to that plot of land. It'll either be paved and we have a new parking lot, or a parking garage will be built up there to give even more parking for the downtown Paynesville area. If there is enough resources, I think a parking garage makes sense, and I will say the city of Paynesville has really pushed for a parking garage there. So we'll see, but it'll either be a parking lot or a parking garage.
Yeah, John, regarding the new safety center, the fact that the old one, I think, was built in 1988, you would think you would get more utility out of that structure. Are they planning this building to be another 30-year building, or 50-year, or 70-year?
There is no they here, Mike.
Yeah,
it's me. And I am planning for this to be a 50 to 60-year building. That's the way we're doing it. The original jail was supposed to be 50 to 60 years is the appropriate, typical, useful life for a jail. And the fact that we only got 35 some years, it opened in the early 90s, actually, I think construction started in the 80s, that's atrocious. But unfortunately, the builder was politically connected. They built the jails in Ashtabula, Lake County, several others. The firm literally went bankrupt before the Lake County jail was even completed, so there was no one to sue when they didn't finish the job, and the job they did do was atrocious. So unfortunately, Lake County, decades and decades ago, hired a very politically connected firm, probably repaying political favors, and they got a terrible result. 35 years from a jail is not acceptable, and frankly, if the jail we're building now comes down in 30 years, you should find me with pitchforks and torches and run me out of the country.
But this company has a reputable, it has a consistent background of...
So let me say, Gilbane is one of the largest jail and safety center construction firms in the country. They have built hundreds of facilities. We have sent the sheriff to tour facilities that they've built. We've done our homework. We've considered many different possible designs. We're using brick. We're using steel. We are building this thing solid. Frankly, I am hopeful it might last more than 60 years. I mean, we'd all love a future where jails aren't necessary. I don't see that quite yet. I don't see that happening. But I want this jail to last well until everyone in this room is dead. That's my goal, and myself included. And I plan on living a long time.
Well, you know, I promised somebody a long life, so I intend to die before that comes down.
So in regard to the jail being approximately 60 or 70 years, and then it would maybe have to be replaced. problems we're having. Oh, well, it's fair to other values in your area. But nobody comes and looks at the house. They don't really know what's going on with this. The Willoughby East Lake Schools, they tore their buildings down and built new ones at my cost. So this is part of the issue we're dealing with is our houses are getting older, but they keep saying they're more and more valuable. But if they can't have the jail last more than 60 years, or 70, hopefully, how do they expect my house to go last that long? And how does that value hold? This is what has us upset.
And you should be upset, but this is exactly what Mayor Mara talks about when he describes the problems with the mass appraisal method. They're not actually going out to your home and evaluating its quality and worth. They're simply looking at a map and some overhead photos from a drone, as well as comparable sales in the area. And based on a complicated formula, they're saying everybody's home goes up with inflation. It's not right, it's not fair. It's why I've said, and I will say again, your value should be based on your sales price, period. It should be locked in at what you bought the house for until you sell it. And that way we always have an objective value. What a willing buyer paid a willing seller. We shouldn't have the nonsense of hiring an army of bureaucrats just to value our properties and tax us more. I mean, heck, it would be more efficient to just hand government our wallet and say, take it all. Why are we hiring people to think of new ways to raise our taxes? That doesn't make any sense. So you're right to be angry, and that's why we need to abolish this type of system altogether.
John, real quick, one more question, and then we have to wrap it up.
Why did they raise the land value so much in Lake County versus the houses? At least in my area. You know, the land value doubled. Then the house went up some.
The answer is based on a complex formula given to us by the state of Ohio. And I will tell you right now, a lot of people have said, why won't our county auditor stand up for us and just refuse to put these values through? I want to be fair to the county auditor and the county treasurer. They have a ministerial duty under state law. They don't have the discretion to decide whether or not to raise your taxes, whether or not to collect your taxes. They are literally following the Ohio Revised Code. And FYI, when the auditor gets the initial values on your land, on your house, he doesn't just send out the bill at that point. The auditor actually has to send those proposed values to the Ohio Department of Taxation, which actually gives the final decision and approval on your value. It doesn't even happen in county. It goes down to Columbus, and Ohio Department of Taxation makes the final call. So all of this is a state issue. And when your state reps and senators go, it's a local issue, go to your local school board, they're really just saying, I don't want to do anything, I don't care, I don't want to fix this, I don't have the guts to actually stand up and cut your taxes. So it's not right, but it's the state, and we've got to change things at the state level.
John, what do you say when school board members say that they have no control?
I say, I know it's hard. I know that if you do your job, you cut the budget, and you return the money to the taxpayer, you're going to have everyone in that building hate you. How do I know that? Because when I killed the biggest tax increase in Lake County history, I killed a lot of raises. I killed a lot of new corner offices. I killed a lot of new jobs for this guy's cousin and that person's brother. I am well aware of the pushback that a school board member will get if they say, you know what, we don't need to have a principal for every grade. We don't need to have an assistant superintendent. We could have one administrator do all the hiring and firing for the district. If you did that, you could save millions of dollars for the taxpayer. You could give it back, but everyone in that building will hate you, just like everyone in the Lake County Administration Center hated Commissioner No, because you will be killing their money train. And if there is any way to PO a government bureaucrat, it's getting between them and their money. So can the school board members do it? Yes, they can. What makes it hard is that most of them are still Democrats, because unfortunately, the Democratic Party has focused on school board races, even in Republican areas like ours, counting on the fact they're nonpartisan races and they can sneak people through. And even when we get Republicans in, they're faced with this really daunting reality that they can either just go along and get along, and everyone will say, here's the honorable so-and-so, and they get an applause when they come in the room, or they can be the devil, and they can say, a year raises for the folks in City Hall. You know, we're not going to give bigger raises to bureaucrats than we give to police and firefighters. Man alive, did those secretaries in City Hall, including the mayor's campaign manager, hate my guts. I was the guy who killed their raise. Every year, this person would get a $5,000 raise until John Plecnik got elected. You know what? She was so PO'd, she ran against me. And her only platform was defeat John Plecnik. Well, she failed. But let me tell you, in the process of all that, I got sued, slandered, attacked. I even had one assassination attempt. I kid you not. Someone literally took the lug nuts, all but one, off my driver's side front tire, hoping that I would get to a high enough speed, crash, burn, and they did that the day before the election day because they knew they couldn't beat me at the ballot box, so they tried to kill me instead. And let me tell you, when I showed up there still alive, there were some pretty surprised people. So I kind of know. I kind of know who they were, you know? When they look at you like, oh, how's he still alive? You're like, oh, yeah, I thought so. I thought so. But that's on city council, folks. This is local. This is not Congress or even state representative. The fact you're willing to try to kill a councilman because he says no to your raise, I know that it is tough to be a school board member and do the right thing. Nonetheless, I deliver this message to the school board members who may or may not be watching and listening right now. If you're not prepared to cut the budget and return the savings to the taxpayer, if it's too hard for you, I understand, because this is brutal. This is a blood sport. But if you can't do it, you need to get out the way and let someone else with a tougher stomach do the work, because we cannot afford this anymore. And most of the waste in local government is at the school level right now. It's where most of our property taxes are going. It's where the administrative state is ballooned out of control. We need the little red schoolhouse, folks. We need teachers, and we need discipline, and we need kids who understand you're here to learn or you're expelled. You have those things, kids are going to learn, it's going to be good. Doesn't take a lot of money, by the way. It's pretty cheap to do. But you got to get rid of all this army of superintendents, assistant superintendents, principals, assistant principals, secretaries, assistant secretaries. My God, everybody's got a secretary and an assistant. Even the secretaries have secretaries now. You just got to fire these people. I said it before, I'll say it again. If you fired half the administrators and you paid the other half as much, you'd still have too many overpaid administrators.
Thank you, Jen.
Thank you.
Brian, thank you, Jen. So, our county commissioner, thank you. As Brian Massey said, we need a Loge, you know, for Doge Lake County oversight. Real quick, okay, remain nameless. There was a certain city council, school board president who said to me, we can't do anything about it. It's the state's problem. And I said to this person, you do have the power. I never hear about you budgeting. I never hear about you cutting. And I was talking to this person at the Vivek meeting. And of course, my husband began telling her how they do have the ability to cut. They do have the ability with their levies to cut the bonds. A member of Lake County contested his property taxes. And this is the answer they got. Ohio law requires the Lake County Board of Revision to inform the local school boards of any Board of Revision complaint that will increase or decrease the assessed valuation. So they let the school board know, okay, that you've filed a complaint, okay? Does this go dead? There we go. Yeah. Okay, so that will increase or decrease the assessed valuation 35% of the estimated market value of any real property by the amount of $17,500. According to our records, you have filed a complaint on the appraisal value of your property. In response to your complaint, your local school board has filed a complaint against you. Have you ever seen a letter like that? This is the first time I ever saw this. So, as a result, a Board of Revision hearing will be conducted to review the assessed valuation of the subject real property. You will be notified by mail or blah, blah, blah. So, if you don't think they have the power, they have the power. Yeah. So, yes, Brian.
The school boards call that chasing sales. I learned that from Riverside Chief Financial Officer, and we're going to follow up on that.
Chasing sales. So they go after people that file a complaint.
Yes, if they see any 20% increase or
to say to that taxpayer, you're wrong.
Well, that's the school board's
Right.
representative on the.
School board, right, so, yes,
But
Robert.
isn't the school board supposed to be concentrating on the education of the kids, not the money that's coming into the school?
Rubber stamp, rubber stamp, rubber stamp. So, anyways, keep that in mind. We have more, oh my gosh, we have more stories. Since my husband and Brian Massey have been doing so much about this, but that's just one of the many. So without further ado, because I don't want to keep on going on and on, we're going to have Ms. Daniels, if you would come first, and then Mr. Zuren, if you don't mind. Thank you. Susan Daniels, our expert tonight on Barack Obama.
Thank you. John Plecnik is an awfully hard act to follow. That's all I can say. Unlike him, I need notes. I have been a state licensed private investigator for over 30 years now. And in 2009, after Barack Obama had been inaugurated, one of my clients said, I'd like you to look into his background. And I said, you know, he's already in office. There's nothing to find. Well, I started looking in these proprietary databases that I have, and I uncovered immediately that he was using an illegal social security number. He was using a Connecticut number. He should have had a Hawaii number. The way the social security system is set up, it went into effect in 1936, and the only people that had to belong to it was if you worked for a company that had 15 or more employees. Well, as time went on, as you all know, we all got sucked into it. And when I got mine, I was, I think 13 or 14, I had my first job. So that's how it would have worked for Barack Obama also. He said that he worked for Baskin & Robbins when he was 15 years old. He was living in Hawaii, so he would have been assigned a Hawaii number that started with the numbers 575 or 576. Well, what I found is his number started with 042. As I looked deeper into the background, I came up with addresses for him in Chicago, in Massachusetts, and in Washington, D.C. All of them had the 042 number on them. The way the system works is when they set up the Social Security system, they started with the East Coast, and all the numbers started with 0. And then as it went west, the numbers got larger. That's how it ends up with such high numbers in Hawaii. Well, when I looked at his phone records, it said that the number had been issued in 1977 in Connecticut. And the only way that anybody could get a Social Security number then in any place is where you signed up, where your residence was. It didn't matter where you were born. If you had been born somewhere else and moved, when you applied, that's where you got your number. Like, you know, Ohio's got its own numbers. Connecticut went from 040 to 049, so it could have been any combination in there. He was 042, and I instantly, because I had already worked for so many years as an investigator, I knew that it was phony. I knew instantly. Well, I ran him on some other databases I had, and this is where it gets interesting, because when I first found the number, it said it had been issued to somebody that was born in 1890. Now, everybody would say, how is that possible that somebody in 1977, born in 1890, would be getting a Social Security number? But I have a file from another woman. She was born in 1894. and apparently her husband died. She needed her own number. She got her number on the same date that Barack Obama's number was assigned, and that was March 28th, 1977. Well, on that date, Obama was 15 and in high school in Hawaii. He never started using that number until he was 26 years old. One of the interesting things, now, the book I wrote 2 years ago, it includes a page that somebody sent me from his 2009 tax filing as president, and it has the Connecticut number on it. All his documents that supported him as the candidate, which included, they were all forgeries, like Selective Service, when he allegedly signed up for there. They was supposed to be done, the application was supposed to have been done in 1980. That's the date stamped on it, except it says the form is a 2007 form. All his documents were made in 2008. As to his schooling, he went to Occidental. He only took 4 or 5 classes there. He never graduated from there, but he said he went on to Columbia. He never went to Columbia. I read an article somebody had written, and it talked about a professor there that had been there for years and was irate that Obama was saying he went to school there. Well, I called him, and this was probably 8 or 9 years ago. At that time, the teacher was 93. He had been teaching at Columbia for 46 years in the history department. He said that he never heard of Barack Obama, never saw him. None of the other professors in history ever saw him or had him in a class. Barack Obama was supposed to be a political science major, and they all took history classes. This teacher told me that he taught, one of the classes he taught was the history of the presidency. He said every political science major took this class. And then the killer was when he told me that the dean of the school told him, this teacher, he said that he had never heard of Barack Obama, had no idea who he was, but he was told to sign his diploma, and he did. Okay? Then he goes on to Harvard. Now this is what's remarkable. He goes to Harvard Law School without so much as an associate's degree. Yeah, but that was arranged by the Saudis and the CIA. And in fact, Bill Ayer's father also helped chip in. One of the interesting things is a guy who used to be a postman for the Ayers family, in 1989, he said that he was delivering mail to their house, and here came a tall, thin, light-skinned black man down the street who engaged him in conversation. And he had been delivering mail to the Ayers house for years. And so he said to Obama, well, what are you doing? What are your plans? And he said, well, I'm just here to thank the Ayers for helping me through school. And the guy said, well, what do you plan on doing after school? And he said, I'm going to be the president. And then this was 1989. If you don't think they played the long game, you're wrong, because they really do. When he allegedly graduated from Columbia, he worked for a CIA front business called Business International Corporation for a year. His mother worked for the CIA in Indonesia. His grandparents were CIA. This is a family just unbelievably corrupt and rotten to the core. I interviewed a girl that knew him as a teenager. on Hotel Street, that he was entertaining them. All the documents that were made for Barack Obama in 2008 were done by John Brennan, who might be the most evil man in the country. He's a horrible person. There's nothing good about this guy. I watch him on TV and he comes across as this really very smart, kind person, and he's just rotten. If you would see, when I wrote the book, I didn't have all the documents that I have now, showing the phony documents for the applications for selective service, the verification of them. It's really interesting because on the application that was supposed to be done in 1980 and was actually done in 2008, Barack Obama's signature is identical. Now, I don't know anybody whose signature stays exactly the same for 30 years. And when they dated the application, it was 2008. They needed a 1980 stamp, but didn't have one. So out of 6 different copies I have of other applications, his is the only one that says July 30th, 08. What they had done is they had taken a 2008 stamp, removed the first 2 and 0, flipped the stamp over and stamped it like that to try and make it look like it was a 1980 application. If any of you have heard of Donald Young was Reverend Wright's choir master. Reverend Wright's church was famous as a place for, what they did is they found beards for gay people and to end up finding people to marry each other to make it look like they were normal people. They were not. I mean, Donald Young was the choir master. Donald Young was Obama's boyfriend. Now keep in mind, he had married Michelle in 1993, and in December 23rd, 2007, Donald Young was killed execution style in his apartment building. In one of my recent Substack things, I show a thing that talks about Donald Young and about how his mother says that she knows Obama had him killed before he started with his campaign. Within 6 weeks, another one of Barack Obama's friends, this all happened at the end of 2007 before he ramped up his campaign. Another guy was executed. This is one of Obama's friends, and the third one died of AIDS. There was, in October of 2008, right before the election, Obama went off to Hawaii, and he went there allegedly to see his sick grandmother, who there was a photo op of him in front of her building. He actually went there to meet with the Board of Elections because they were not going to put his name on the ballot. The guy who ran the Board of Elections was a very honorable guy. Well, somebody named Brian Schatz was the head of the Democrat Party there, and he was also involved in some nonprofit. What Brian Schatz did and Nancy Pelosi did is they convinced this guy from the Board of Elections to change the certificate of nomination. Obama could, as we know, there's only 3 requirements to be the president. You have to live in the country for 14 years. You have to, why am I forgetting the second one? But the third one is you have to prove his name was Tim Adams. And in it he said, while he was working at the Board of Elections, that they were told to stop asking about a birth certificate for Obama because there was none. And you know, they of course, everything like this, I saw it briefly. I have a copy of it. Everything like this is hidden. Obama was not born in Kenya. I can tell you that, and I'll tell you why. His mother shows up she came from Mercer Island. She graduated from Mercer Island, or at the high school there, in June of 1960. The following week, her family moved to Hawaii. Obama was born in 61, in August of 61. In about the 20th of August, she shows up, Ann Dunham, his mother, who was not married to Barack Obama Sr. because he already had a wife in Kenya and children with her. She shows up with a 2-week-old baby at a friend's house that she went to high school with. And the friend said in an interview, she didn't even know how to change the diaper. I had to do it for her. Well, for her to have gone 9,200 miles from Kenya on a 32-hour flight with layovers, it didn't happen with a brand new baby whose diaper you didn't even know how to change. And his grandmother, Obama's grandmother, who originally said, oh yeah, he was born in our hut, and then she changed it, no, he was born in a hospital in Mombasa. And then she said, no, he was born in Hawaii. Well, he was also not born in Hawaii, or there would be a birth certificate for him there. Now, I have a copy of his father's immigration file, and in it says that, in fact, I might have, yes, I do have it right here. It says, subject, meaning Barack Obama Sr., got his wife pregnant, and although they were married, they do not live together.
5 minutes. 5 minutes and wrap it up.
Okay, Miss Dunham is making arrangements with the Salvation Army to give the baby away. All right, she was never seen in Hawaii pregnant. And I started thinking about it, where could she have gone? The only place she could have gone would be back to Seattle, where Mercer Island is. And I started looking for Salvation Army hospitals or homes for unwed girls. And I found one in Vancouver, British Columbia, 160 miles away from Seattle. And I think that that's where he was born. I don't think he's ever been an American citizen. He was using an illegal social security number from the time he was 26 up until, I know for sure, 2009. Everything he did, every law he signed, every dollar he spent was done illegally. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I'll stop there in case anybody has any questions.
We can take some quick questions. Anybody?
I'll bite the bullet there. So who, in this particular stage, did your research uncover who was behind his selection, his grooming? Is for?
I have no, I mean, it's a collection of people. I mean, obviously this was in play since the mid-'80s. And when he ran for Senate, he ran against a guy named Jack Ryan, whose divorce file had been sealed, and it became unsealed, and he had some really embarrassing things in it. And he dropped out then as the Republican candidate, so Obama had no opposition when he became senator.
Huh. What was the ultimate? I mean, this may be an obvious question, but what was the ultimate purpose of getting him into office?
You see,
the whole thing.
Look what he did to the country.
Socialism.
Corruption. Yeah. Yes, sir.
Yeah. But wasn't he?
she had him in Indonesia with her from the age of 6 to 10 and then sent him back home. And while he was there, he was registered in school as Barry Sotoro because she by then was married to a Sotoro.
But wasn't there also, I've heard some stories about his past. There was this black man in Hawaii.
Frank Marshall Davis.
Yes.
That's who I think is his real father.
Yeah, they think he's his father.
And if they admitted that, there would never been a problem with his birth. But Frank Marshall Davis was a communist and an old pedophile, and they could not have him as the father of their grandson.
Right, but Barack spent time with him, if I'm not
He grew up with him. He was with him all the time. Yes?
How about Michael Robinson?
Actually, Michelle, I have seen a picture of Michelle Obama at the age of 15 in a dance class in tights, and she is female. She is not a male. I think she went through a phase where she wanted to be a male, and she had a haircut and was dressing like a man. She's a woman.
Is Sasha and Aaliyah actually his daughters or not?
No, I don't think so.
No.
I think they belong to Martin Nesbitt and his wife, Anita Blanchard. They're identical to them.
Is he a Muslim too?
He's a Muslim traveler. He's not an anything.
Wow.
Wow.
A little bit of drama tonight, huh?
In case anybody's interested, I did bring some books with me.
They're back there, and you'll be around for questions, right?
Yes.
Are they free?
No, they're $20.
And Commissioner Plecnik, you'll be around for questions too, so we still have our speakers. And without further ado, the state of Lake County, our county treasurer, Mike Zuren. Clap for Mike Zuren, please. Sure. I'm gonna hand them out for you. Yeah.
Thank you. I just want to say thank you for inviting me to the Liberty Coalition. I was really surprised when I pulled in here. I thought it was a very small building, and I pulled in and I saw this huge parking lot, and this is a very nice church. So thank you for inviting me. So I'm currently the Lake County Treasurer. I'm serving my second term as a treasurer, and I decided to announce that I'm running for state treasurer, and a lot of it is predicated when I came into office. There were so many good things that happened, so many positive things that happened in the Lake County Treasurer's office. I really want to take it to the state, and I'd like to talk about some of those things that helped make my decision to run for state. The biggest thing that jumps out right away is something that Commissioner Plecnik pointed out to me. When I first took office, Commissioner Plecnik pointed out that there was a overpayment account at Lake County that had been growing for over 40 years. There was $5.3 million in this account, and it was duplicate payment. So if somebody made their tax payment and then their bank made the tax payment, the county policy was to keep the money until they asked for it back. This grew into $5.3 million. So when I took office, I said, this money's got to go back to the taxpayers. So we researched for 3 years, and we refunded 17,000 Lake County residents that money. So now the story doesn't end there, because when I go to the state has $2 billion of unclaimed funds. That money has been collected for more than 40 years. That needs to go back. They have a long policy to refund that money where you have to apply for it. You have to find out that you are owed the money. You have to apply for it. It goes through a 4 to 6 month process to get your money back. The money just needs to go back. We could put a disclaimer on the back of a check, a legal disclaimer, send the checks back, and give the money back to the Ohio residents. That's $2 billion that needs to go back. So that's the first thing that I want to work on. I took office, a lot of it was invested in overnight funds. So as anyone knows, if you invest for 24 hours, you're going to get a low return. If you invest longer, if you use different tools that you're allowed to invest in, you're going to get a greater return. So the first year I was in office, the return was about $1.3 million on our portfolio. That's what the county had. So $1.3 million of untaxed funds that the commissioners get to decide on how to spend it. If it's roads, police, fire, whatever they're going to spend it on. Well, I have an MBA, I have a PhD, I have 30 years of banking experience. I teach finance, investment to students at John Carroll. So I actually know investments very well. So we have spent the last 5 years looking for the best investment options. And a lot of it is the market. You know, the market, it could be corporate bonds, it could be agencies, it could be treasuries, it could be a wide variety of what we're allowed to invest in. But I have a question before I go into too much detail. Does anyone have a savings account? Okay, does anyone earn 4% on their savings account? Anyone earn 5% on their savings account? So one of the things we did is we invited in a lot of the banks, and we had a bid on what kind of return could you give us if we if we invested money in your bank and we opened a CD, a savings account. So we have a savings account. We get 5.36% on an investment, and that is just by working with what's available, where we can invest money. But that is a huge difference on what the county has to work with. Instead of taking an overnight investment, you're working with all the banks and you're trying to get the highest investment that's safe for the county. So we turned that $1.3 million, the first year I was in, to $19 million last year. And that just gives the commissioners a lot more money to get things done that is not tax dollars, that's interest and investment return. So that's one thing I want to do at the state, because the state has a $30 billion portfolio. And if you can maximize return, then that means less tax dollars are needed because you have a greater return. So I think that's really important, and I think I have the background to really help maximize the return for the state. The other thing that I really would like to take to the state is technology. So when I came into the office about 5 years ago, we have about 114,000 parcels of land which receive a property tax bill. The policy was they're all mailed a tax bill. Now we've really changed that over the last 5 years. We email about 19,000 people their tax bill. We have all these different ways to pay, whether it's Venmo or Apple or Google Pay. We have all these streamlined ways to pay. Our website, when I first took office, you had to load everything in. You had to load in your name, how much you're paying, your parcel number. It populates now, which is a big difference because you eliminate errors. We just rolled out text to pay. So if you sign up for email to pay or text to pay, we email you, you click on the link, you can pay your taxes, you get confirmation. It saves the county about $3 per payment. And that is a lot of money when you're talking 19,000 emails going out, and it's growing. So technology from the state office, the state treasurer's office, to help all 88 counties use technology and save money and be more efficient, and a lot more cost savings is going to make a big difference for taxpayers through the state. So that is another thing I really want to focus on. But one of the biggest things that happened, I'm a pastor, I'm a Pentecostal pastor in Willoughby, and one of the biggest things that happened when I took office is a lot of doors opened. So one thing that happened was financial literacy, being able to teach in a lot of different areas. I've gone to the schools, I've gone to the senior centers, I've gone to libraries, and taught financial literacy to thousands of people. I've also gone to local prisons. Grafton is one of them. I've been going for about 3 years, teach financial literacy, because I understand when somebody re-enters society, set up was with veterans at Lewis Stokes, and I think Sarah Harper Village. We're going to be going out there and teaching financial literacy for veterans that were homeless to help them clean up their credit and be successful. So I think it is extremely important, and it's directly related to the Treasurer's Office, is teaching financial literacy and helping people be successful. So that is one of the things that I want to focus on. But I have a couple pictures because I want to hand these out. So I've been teaching at AWT, Alliance for Working Together. These are people that are getting manufacturing jobs, good paying manufacturing jobs. So I teach free financial literacy there. Probably every 6 weeks I teach a course. I was going to pass those out. And then this is one of the schools I went to. A lot of times when I go to the schools, there'll be a big class of 100 kids, and we put them through financial literacy. And then we even have a class, I think this is Council on Aging, but we even have a class that we do for elementary school kids. If they're homeschool children, we'll teach them financial literacy just to set them in the right direction. So they understand finances, they understand when their parents are spending money, how that affects the household. And I think it's important to start kids in elementary school on financial literacy. A couple other doors that opened, I don't want to go into a lot of detail, but when I first got elected, it was kind of the beginning of COVID, I believe. And one of the things, and Commissioner Plecnik helped a lot in this, we started a program for children in Lake County, and we started handing out free lunches. And so far to date, we've handed out about 35,000 lunches to Lake County children who are underprivileged. But it grew into something that was much more than just free lunches. We partnered with Coats for Kids. We've handed out thousands of coats every winter. The last 5 years, we've handed out thousands of coats in the Willoughby area to children. And then we've also expanded into backpacks, school supplies, and we've handed out thousands and thousands of backpacks and school supplies. And I'm talking about this because I truly believe doors open, and God opens doors for a reason, and you need to walk through them. It's our responsibility. So if I do get elected to state treasurer, I am going to go through those doors, and I'm going to try to help. And I just think that is something that God will put on your heart, and you need to follow through. This is a picture of some of the backpacks, but it was a real blessing every year because you'll see kids come in and they don't have winter coats, they have hoodies, and it's 20 degrees outside, and they don't have gloves, they don't have pads. And I have 4 children, and I understand if you send a child to school and they don't have the supplies, you just send them there to fail. They need to have the basic supplies to be successful in school and in life. So I think it's really important. And this is, we had a couple pizza days, but this is a picture of, we had like 800 pizzas one day at a free kids lunch program. And so just some interesting things that have happened. And I'm just expecting, if I go to the state treasurer's office, God's going to open more doors, and I'm going to walk through them and see how I could best serve Ohio residents.
What's Lake County going to do then?
I'm not moving from Lake County. I love Lake County. I've got 4 kids. I still have 2 that are going to Riverside. And I have my daughter just got accepted to John Carroll. I'm really excited. She's a great kid. So I don't intend to go anywhere, but I just think it's the right thing to do, and I just think the opportunity is there, and I could best serve just going on to the next level. So yes.
So you mentioned that financial literacy starts with the kids in grade school, and I have to comment that I spoke with a youngster that's in the Willoughby Eastlake school system. He's in their tech program, and his comment to me was, "I wish they would teach us how to balance a checkbook."
Yeah, I agree. To be successful, you need the basics, and financial literacy is extremely important. And if you don't understand that and you get into debt, you will, no matter how much you make, it's going to be a problem.
These kids can't count money at the cash register. They can't give change. They can't have a goofy amount of money. They look at you like you're from Mars. This is crazy.
Yeah, that financial literacy would be something I'd be pushing very hard from the state for that to be required in schools, and the basic financial literacy so they can function and be successful. It doesn't have to be complicated. Yes.
I just wanted to say thank you. I went to one of your little classes at the Willoughby Senior Center on the homestead exemption and also the reduction you can get in water and sewer. And not only have I set myself up, but I've probably set up 9 other much older seniors
thank you.
than me on doing that. And I appreciated that, and I just wanted to, got my vote.
Well, thank you, thank you. I love going out there and seeing how I can help people, and I'm good at like a finite thing. So finance is one thing I understand. So I just thank you.
I couldn't tell you how they were appreciative that they didn't know how to do it or what to do. So I ran down, I got all the forms, and I have extra forms in my car. I keep telling more and more people because every little bit helps at this point.
Yeah, I actually think I don't know if I need this. Can everyone hear me or?
Yeah.
I actually think the treasurer's position is probably the only position I'd be really good at. So it's like the one I need to stick with, just with the finance background and credit understanding and banking and investment. If it was something else like commissioner, I wouldn't know what to do. So I think this is the right spot, and I really appreciate the you spreading the way that people could save money, because it's really important. We use all the tools that are out there. Okay. So, any other questions? Or?
I don't know, opening a can of worms, and maybe this is for a later time. Do you know anything about cryptocurrency, and is it a good thing or a bad thing?
The only question I had was a couple people asked to pay their taxes by cryptocurrency, and I said absolutely not, because the problem is we accepted payment in cryptocurrency. By the time we took it to the bank to exchange it, it would be worth more or less, and that would be a nightmare in the treasury. I think the risk, one thing I look at when I teach investment is market risk, and market risk for cryptocurrency is off the charts. So I mean, you could make so much money or lose so much money the same day. I would personally not invest in it.
I don't think it's a good thing, really.
Too risky. Yeah.
But I know people have been asking if anybody could speak to us about it. But like if we were to find a speaker for that, they might want to promote it, and I'm not sure that would be the best thing.
Yeah, unless you had money that you didn't need at all, it was more like a gambling thing. I would not suggest that.
Just a general question, you were talking about payments. Is it better for the state to pay online, or is it okay to pay through like an online banking? I mean, is financially speaking for the state?
Well, the banks charge a lot of different fees. So if it's like an ACH or a direct payment out of your checking account, that's the least expensive. If you get over to any type of a credit card, the fees are like 2.5% of what you're paying.
I was just doing like out of a checking account.
Yeah, if somebody pays their property taxes out of their checking account, there's no charge at all. That would
through
be
like an online banking.
Right, an ACH. Now, if you get into a credit card or a debit card or something like that, there are fees. So I would avoid any fee you possibly can.
That's what I was
just
asking.
Go directly out of the
talking
checking
about
account.
like doing it on the website for the county.
Yeah, you could do that just out of your checking account. There should be no charge at all. So.
Yeah, but even if I do it online banking, there shouldn't be. Because I don't want to make any charges for anybody. I mean, I'm trying to save money here.
Right.
On both ends.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Yeah, the money that got returned from the county and then maybe potentially from the state, the overcharge or the big slush fund, is interest given back, or what happens to all that money that was earned?
No, the interest wasn't given back because from the treasurer's office, I just had control of that money that was sitting there, If I went any further, it would have delayed returning the money, and it was sitting there 40 years. So I either returned it or it would still be sitting there. If I tried to add anything to it, I'm sure it would have gone nowhere. And I just think, I mean, when you look at the state level, $2 billion, that is so much money. And they have your information. Like if you go on the unclaimed fund site, you could type in your name and it will say, okay, these 5 accounts, there's $90 here, $100 here, and then you have to apply for it. But they have all your information. So if it's not somebody they created to get it back.
So how do you find out if you are owed some money? You said go to this website?
Yeah, you can go to the State of Ohio Unclaimed Funds, but then and then you can type in your name, and they'll have a lot of information on you. They may have your full name, middle initial, your address. They'll say if it's a bank account or a tax refund or where it is, and they'll give you details. And then you have to fill out a form, and you have to send it in, and then they research it, and then you'll be notified if they're going to send you back the money or if they want more documentation.
Anybody else?
Well, that's good. You're running for state treasurers. Who do you recommend for local Lake County treasurer?
Sherry Falkenberg. That's who I'm going to endorse. She's chief of staff, and she would. The treasurer's office. We have a culture where everyone's kind of like a family member. Very low turnover, and we care about each other. And she's the chief of staff. She would continue that culture and. I believe in very low turnover, treat everybody with the most respect you can, and treat them like family, and I think she'll continue it.
Anybody else?
Give a donation.
Well, thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Zuren. Good luck. Hard job. Glad you're good at it.
Okay, but then we gotta do that officially.
Well, thank you very much for Mr. Zuren, our treasurer. I hope you learned something tonight. We try to keep these quick, brief, 3 speakers at a time. A lot of good information, a little drama tonight. The books are back there, $20, correct? Okay. Commissioner Plecnik, Commissioner No is back there. You can talk to Commissioner No and our treasurer. With that being said, let's bow our head in prayer. My adorable Jesus, may our feet journey together, may our hands gather in unity, may our hearts be in unison, may our souls be in harmony, may our thoughts be as one, may our ears listen to the silence together, may our glances profoundly penetrate each other, may our lips pray together to gain mercy from the eternal Father. Amen. Thank you, everybody. We're passing the bucket. This is a church, you know. So if you like what you heard tonight, if you like putting a couple dollars, I'd appreciate it. If you feel like joining, it's $20. Rob, raise your hand, our treasurer. There's the gentleman of the hour. And please feel free to stay, grab a cup of coffee, something to eat, and get to know each other. Good night, everybody.
Every now and then it gets bad.
All right.